live for the Brewery Underground podcast.
In Nashville's what will rise, craft and brews will meet the skies. Stephen Scott, they lead the way, Brewery Underground night and day. Raise your glass, let's ignite, in this city we unite. Raise your glass, let's ignite, in this city we unite.
Hey out there, Stephen Scott, Brewery Underground podcast. We are in Nashville, Tennessee. Scott, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing well. The weather's turning. It's nice outside. We had some warmer days. It's gotten a little cooler again, but about where it should be.
That's
Because
right.
around here it can be 95 degrees the next week, and we don't want to be there just yet. But the weather's turning for the better. So I'm starting to get that spring fever.
We are getting that spring fever, and I'll tell you what, it's turning on this podcast today in a spring fever sort of a way. A great podcast episode here. It is Ladies' Night on the Brewery Underground podcast because we have on from Pink Boot Society a couple of fine folks. We have Erin Wallace. She is the board president of Pink Boots, and also Georgina Solis, the executive director. And ladies, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You've set the bar, Steve. Now we've got to call her Georgie from here on out. She said
That's right.
we could. I just want to, now that you set the precedent.
Well, she said before we started recording that people have called her that for 10 years now, so we'll just roll with it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, ladies.
Yeah, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
Where do we find each of you? And I already know the answer, but I'll let you tell the audience.
Do you want to go first, Georgie?
I don't know, Scott. Let's test it out. Where am I?
You are in Houston, Texas.
Ding, ding, ding. Yep.
See, I passed that exam earlier today. I could answer for Erin too.
Go right ahead then.
I'm going to pass the test. I believe you're in Philadelphia.
I am. Yeah. We're
All
getting
right.
ready for a pretty big year up here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much have everything coming here this year. So,
Yeah, you've got CBC coming, don't you?
well, it's the 250th anniversary of the United States. So
Oh.
we have CBC. We have some March Madness games coming. We have some PGA games coming. We have FIFA World Cup coming. We have the All-Star game. A slew of conferences, including CBC. And then,
Just a few
so
things
many
going on
things.
there.
Yeah.
Georgie, are you going
Mhm.
up for any of that in Philly?
Just for CBC. Yeah.
That's the one I'd pick too. I think.
Yeah. We've
Yeah.
Houston's
Oh,
also
God.
hosting some FIFA Cups, but I'll watch from home.
Well, and Erin is multitasking tonight because not only are you on the podcast, but you're also at work. Is that right?
Yeah. I am currently hosting a private event down at the brewery. So luckily it's very nice weather up here. It's like it's like low 80s, I'm hearing. Although
Wow.
tomorrow it's supposed to be 50, it's supposed to be 56 and snowing tomorrow. So I'm not
yeah.
hopeful this is going to last very long. But everybody's outside in the yard having a good time, and I'm in the office.
Erin, tell
Well-
us the name of the brewery that
I work for
you
Other
at,
Half.
Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yep.
work for Other Half. I used to own restaurants in the Philadelphia area. They were all craft beer focused, and I used to have a small little brew pub out in the suburbs. But I sold everything over the last few years and sold my last restaurant shortly after COVID technically was over. I don't know if it's ever really been over.
Right.
But it's been about 3 years since I owned it. I was doing consulting and event planning, and then Other Half was looking for an event planner and manager, and just seemed like a nice little fit.
Nice.
And I don't have to be the owner, so when something goes wrong, it's somebody else's problem.
That's right. You get to put that on someone else. Hey, by the way, something's wrong over here.
Just a little less.
I'm like,
that's right.
oh, there's plumbing problem in the bathroom. Not my
You're right.
problem.
Well, Erin, we're guessing. Actually, I was just about to say, we're guessing, being that you're at a brewery, you're drinking something, and I just saw you pick something up.
no.
What are you drinking there tonight?
Iced tea. I'm still, it's not very exciting.
That's
It is
okay.
Decaffeinated, no sugar iced tea.
That's all
And then
right.
once my shift's over in a few hours, I will be having a beer.
That's all right. You
Probably
got to
a few.
hydrate too along the way. It's
Yeah.
not too bad.
Mhm.
Do you get to do any quality control testing or anything along the way during the day? You know,
Oh
you're
yeah,
surrounded
they
by it.
definitely, the beginning of the day too, we always do a little tasting of either something that was just freshly tapped or something new that came in. Tomorrow we are having our Hop Madness, so we're releasing 6 new beers
Wow.
Hell
for
yeah.
Hop Madness that are all basketball themed. So the truck is coming down from New York with some of those tomorrow. We have some already in stock. Some are coming down tomorrow. So I'm sure I will be drinking my fair share of hazy IPAs tomorrow.
That's you don't hit the snooze on days like that, do you? You just go ahead, get up and
It's
to
just that's gonna be we'll be coming down. I'll be walking right into like the delivery truck, coming, unloading that, and walking. Everybody will be ordering the beers to go, so it'll be
Hey,
a
of
crazy
course.
day. Yep.
I
Yep.
don't know a
So
lot about other half, but I do know they make really good beer. I've had some, and I know people get excited about it. We don't really get it here, but I've gotten it from other places and brought it home. And I do know other half is really sought
we'll,
after, and they make really good quality
we'll
beer.
we'll work on sending you some down. We're known for the hazy IPAs, and then a lot of like bourbon barrel aged stouts
Oh man,
Yeah.
with. I mean, Thai banana is like in all their bourbon. I don't know why Thai bananas in a lot of their bourbon stouts. But we have one now that's got pineapple and coconut in it. So a lot of the adjunct stouts. We do a few sours. You don't see them as often anymore right now. And then lagers. So, and their lagers are I don't like IPAs. They're not my favorite style. So I'm very excited when we get some nice fresh lagers.
Yeah, I think that's probably
nice.
something during this podcast that's going to come up, because we know, the lager game is certainly changing quite a bit in the beer industry, and in a good way, And Georgie just showing us a beer there. So what are you drinking? What do you got?
Yeah, man, I've been on that lager kick for years now. Like, I think when I first entered the industry, all about the IPAs. I don't know, but then there's this weird like dip where you're like, all right, I just want a beer that tastes like beer. Take me that word from my husband.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
And so the cleaner, the lighter, the better. So yeah, I was in Austin last week for a collaboration brew day with Pink Boots with a brewery, and we stopped by a well-known spot over there called Holdout, and they have a nice American lager called Nice and Clean, and it is exactly that. And it just hits on a hot summer day. So even though it's only 80 degrees here too, but man, yeah, it's refreshing.
Nice.
See, it's so funny to me because, having been in Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania was founded by Germans. That is the large majority of like when people came over, they came over from Germany. So Philadelphia has always had such a big lager, Yingling Lagers, obviously one of the biggest, but we've always had a very big lager tradition here in Philadelphia. So I was always surprised when I left, and I was like, what do you mean you don't have a double bock or a lager? And like now the craft beer's really kind of taken off. Now it's like you go to a lot and you just see lagers and IPAs on the draft.
Yeah.
So sometimes I miss my good Belgian stuff.
Yeah, the lagers they're big here too. It's just, they've taken over, and I think Georgie, like you said, it's beer flavored beer, and it's so good. 5 years ago, anyone that was making them, they just weren't even as good.
Yeah,
they were making them. Even craft breweries, they weren't as good as they are now.
yeah. I mean, with lagers, right, you can tell if something's off. And so and that's how you know if it's a good brewery. I'm
That's
like,
right.
sure, you can throw all sorts of purees in there, but can you get a lager without diacetyl over the threshold? Then yeah, or under. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
something we've talked about over the past year or so, that breweries, they can't hide them anymore, man. If you want to keep your customers coming back, you got to be making a great lager.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. And maybe that's why
nothing
we
to
don't
hide
see
behind.
them.
Right. Nothing to hide about. And I agree with you. Go somewhere and you can gauge the brewery maybe by their lager. If you just start there, like, okay, the rest of the beer should be good.
Right. Yeah. But if that's clean, crisp, and no off flavors, then you're like, okay, someone knows what they're doing.
Georgia, because you're in Texas, have you heard of a brewery called Real Ale?
Maybe. If I hadn't and I was in the industry, something would be very wrong.
Yes. So you are very familiar with Fireman's 4.
Yes,
That is,
absolutely.
we love Fireman's 4. It is my desert island beer.
Oh,
I
Oh,
would
that is
take
a
Fireman's 4
compliment,
with me. And on Untapped, I've only given 3 or 4 5s, and Fireman's 4 is a 5. And I think it's almost perfect.
yeah, it
I
is.
got a
And
couple
it's
sitting
a,
in my refrigerator right now that you gave me.
why aren't you drinking it?
It's a good
You know I'm
question.
in Texas.
Had I known.
It's imported into us. When I say that, it's by mule or someone coming from there. My brother lives in San Antonio, so every time he comes up, he brings us some. So
That's your request. Yeah.
yes, just Fireman's 4, just cases, just the
Yeah.
12-ounce cans, a couple of cases, and we're good for a while.
Very, very well respected brewery here in Texas.
Yes,
Yeah.
good. And they do a lot. I've been, and they do a lot of other things well too. But that Fireman's 4, it's still just you live there and you know how good it is.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Next time, if I ever run into you or planning to see you, I'll bring you some.
All
There you
right.
go.
Cheers to that. Well, Steve, what are you drinking?
And I am drinking, this is a wheat beer from Metazoa Brewing Company in Indianapolis. It's called Total Canine. And
Oh.
yeah, just started drinking it. Our buddy Rich, we do a collab podcast sometimes with the guys in Nashville called the Foamy Heads. And a friend of ours, Rich, was going through Indianapolis not long ago and brought us back some beers. Always good to get one from a brewery I've never had before. So that's what I'm drinking tonight.
I can't believe it lasted that long.
I know it. So much beer, so much time.
Well, Steve, you might like this one. And look at this can art. Isn't it kind of cool?
Oh,
Yes.
That's awesome.
Hazy Day in the Hood, New England IPA from your friends at Street Side out of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I picked this up in Ohio last week when I was there. So cheers to all of you.
Salud.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I know there's so many questions. I know we're going to talk about beer here, but we also wanted to kind of begin talking about what you all represent in such a fantastic way. The organization called the Pink Boots Society. And for people that are not familiar, can you just kind of give an overview of what you find folks do with them?
Madam President.
Madam
that's because
President.
I have the mission memorized. So our mission is to assist. Oh my God! Now you put me on the spot. I'm not going to be able to do it.
You're at work. That's why we're distracting you.
It's also like, yes. But we are a nonprofit organization for women and non-binary individuals in the industry to help them assist and further their careers through education. So everything that we do is education based. We host a ton of webinars and educational opportunities online. We have in-person conferences and events. We fundraise for scholarships. So Georgie can give you the actual numbers, but I think over we're 19 years now.
Yeah.
Going to be 20 years
old.
next year.
Mhm.
We've offered over $500,000 in scholarships. I was a scholarship recipient. Georgie was a scholarship recipient. So sometimes, like for me, it was tickets and some travel expenses to be able to attend conferences. Georgie got way better. She got to go to Belgium and brew beer.
Whoa.
But,
Oh.
we do trips to Germany and sensory training or online Cicerone or WSET training for wine or sake. So it's a ton of ways that you can broaden your education and hopefully then further your career.
Yeah. How
Wow.
long have you both
George is just
been
like,
with Pink Boots?
God.
I joined Pink Boots. I helped start the North Texas chapter, which incorporates like Dallas, Fort Worth, that region, back in 2016 or 17. And so started that chapter, was running it, and then joined the board of directors in 2021, and was on the board until we had a big transition within Pink Boots and left my job brewing because I was working as a brewer for a few breweries before this, and I've been now in this role as the executive director. It was 2 years in February.
Okay.
So it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been a member for a while. I was a member before we even started collecting dues. When all it really was you just kind of joined, and like there were a few scholarships here and there. But then, so I was a member for a while, but never really all that active. And then it's so funny, in 2015, but December of 2015, so shortly 2016, I got together with a bunch of the women from the Philadelphia area, and we started our chapter here in Philly because that's when CBC was coming to Philly last. So we started our chapter up here in 2016, and now it's 10 years later. I ran the Philly chapter for 5 or 6 years before I joined the board. And I've been on the board now for 5 years. And now we're going to come back to Philly at CBC. And then I'll be the president. So it's been an long, it's like 10 years. It's been a crazy 10 years. Yeah.
You both started chapters. What does it take to start a chapter? You just got to get like a groundswell and tell us.
Well, for us in North Texas, there was this other brewery. It was they closed shortly after, but it was just a few women that were like, hey, let's kind of get together and start. I had never heard of Pink Boots. I was just like, I think I've seen something. I don't really know what it's about, but she's like, hey, I kind of need help to get this going. And we were already doing some meetings because of our local Texas Guild is pretty active. And so we kind of knew each other, but we really hadn't like talked to each other. And so it's like, hey, let's just have our first meeting. I guess people texted each other, hey, we're going to meet at this place. And then it just kind of grew organically from there. We went to our first meeting and it's, oh, wow, I feel comfortable. I feel safe here. I can ask questions and I'm not going to get a weird look. And so that is really kind of what just like everybody felt great. And we just kept having meetings every month. It kept growing. And at that time, in that area, there weren't many women on the production distribution side. And so it was just me at every meeting. And I was teaching our members whatever I could about brewing and what I was learning in the cellar and what I was learning about distribution, because at that point in that era, there were mostly in the front of house. There were mostly beer tenders. There were managers, and they were very curious to learn about the brewing process, the product that they were selling. And so that is kind of what it just, organically grew. And now it's in great hands with somebody else. And I'm here in the Houston chapter, but that's my version. But every chapter is different, has its own dynamic, which I'm sure Erin can share how she started hers there.
Yeah. I mean, we had a few of us, like Tara Nurin. There was a woman, Alva, who was on the liquor law side of things. She was a lawyer who was very big, working for craft breweries and all. And Tara is local to the Philadelphia area, but an author. And and for us, it was like there were a few of us that were part of Pink Boots. We kind of knew what it was, but we didn't have an active chapter. And then we started thinking CBC's coming around. We have so many women that were very much into beer in the Philadelphia area. Philadelphia, I sometimes forget the riches that we have here in Philadelphia. At 10 years ago, there weren't as many breweries, but we had beer from everywhere. We have so much Belgian, right off the boat, Belgian beer, so many German companies that are here. So we, and like, you know, Russian River sells in California, and then for a while the only other place they sold was Philadelphia. So like we could, yeah, I mean, it was like there is nothing. You walk in the bar and you're like, oh, there's Pliny the Elder. It's like, you know, like that's, there's Blind Pig, like that is average at a bar in Philadelphia. So we are very very lucky with what we've had. But so we had a lot of sales reps from companies outside the state that were local in Philadelphia, but the sales rep were women, and there were a very small handful of production, but not very many. And we just wanted to say, like, when people were coming to Philly, we wanted to showcase what a strong group of women we had in the area and in the scene. So that's how we all got together, because originally it's like, we're going to start a chapter, we're going to do something for CBC. And we did our first brew day, and we did our first like fundraiser the night before CBC started. And yeah, I spoke at the CBC like Pink Boots get together. But the plan was, like, I guess somehow I got voted on as the chapter leader that night, because we met in the back room of my restaurant, like, and I got voted on as the chapter leader. And my deal was, I was already on the board of Philly Loves Beer, or Philly Beer Week at the time, and I had 4 restaurants. I was like, I don't need anything. I don't have time. But I was like, I'm just going to stay on and get us through CBC, and then somebody else can take this over, because I do not have the time for this. And then
you loved it.
Right. Well, I don't know if it was necessarily that right away, but we had one of our members got a scholarship, and she spoke at the CBC. But she went on her scholarship after CBC, and I would do a collaboration with her brewery all the time. And I happened to be up there working on the collaborative beer that we were making that year, on the first day back after her scholarship. And she got to go spend like a week at brewing school, and she was talking about the connection she made and what she learned, and how she was going to bring this back and do this differently now at work and train these people because they were doing it wrong, you know, like, and she learned a better way. And like, I heard how much that meant to her, and I was like, oh, we need to keep up with this, because more people need these opportunities that we're offering. And if I want the people to take up on that, then we need to have an active chapter so they know these things are there. And at the time, the chapters couldn't fundraise for themselves. So it was like everything was going through national. Now, as we've expanded, the chapters can fundraise for themselves, so we can offer chapter specific scholarships. So now, besides what we've expanded, that national offers individual chapters. So we offer, I mean, 2 of the chapter members from Philly this year just went to Germany for sensory training. We can offer so much more that way. And it's like, now it's not like 20 people fighting for 2 seats that our national has, because the chapters can do that as well. And it's been, I mean, but that was the reason I stayed on. It was like, all right, we got to make this happen for others.
I know we both have a lot of questions,
now I'm
but
here.
I want to say, I want to say the
They
timing
suck
of
you
this
in and they don't let you go.
Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
Mhm.
Hey, I want to say that the timing of this podcast is pretty cool, because as we're recording this, International Women's Day was just celebrated a couple of days ago, and you guys have put out some great pictures on social media about it. Can you talk about what that day means for you all?
Absolutely. And a lot of that content is our chapters, hosting these brew days and tagging Pink Boots Nationals. And it really is, it's so rewarding seeing the excitement and seeing individuals who would normally not get an opportunity to go into the brew house and make the beer, look at the ingredients, and talk to the brewer and see what's going on. I had the opportunity to witness that at the brew day that I just went to in Austin. One of their members from the front of house she was, I want to go. I want to go do the brew day. And the brewer is a great friend of mine. And I'm observing him, like teaching her. And she's very curious, like bright eyed, and which is what I felt like when I first went into the industry, 10 years ago. And so seeing that excitement and that like empowerment that they feel when it's like, hey, I can see the product from start to finish. This is what I am, serving to our customers up front. That to me, like, along with the scholarships that Erin is mentioning that are giving our members that feeling of like, I know what I almost I know what I'm talking about here. And, I can have a seat at the table because Pink Boots has provided and helped that education and develop my career. Seeing all of those posts, all those tags, I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, we're doing something pretty cool here.
And I bet you find that it keeps women in the industry longer, right? Absolutely. I mean, I would think, oh,
Yeah.
I can excel my career. I can do this and do this, and I can find a path. Maybe I want to do this later on or something else.
I almost left about a year into it. There was an incident at the brewery that I worked at, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but Pink Boots and that tribe, I was like, no, I can take up space here, and this is gonna work out. And so absolutely, it in many ways, and not just educationally, but in networking, it's like, yeah, I can do this. I want to do this.
Fabulous. Go back to the chapters for a minute because I'm curious. You started it in your own cities. You kind of did it on your own. If new chapters wanted to be started, do you guys proactively kind of go out and say, "Hey, we need someone in this part of the country or in this state," or is that really up to an individual or a small group in that area?
The latter.
Okay.
They usually will reach out to us and say, hey, what can I do to start a chapter here? There's a couple of us, and we have some instructions on our website that, there's some requirements that you need to meet in order to be able to start a chapter. And they send in their application, they gather their members, and then they start the chapter. It really, in order for it to work, it needs to start from there, from their communities, and initiate in that city or that region.
And you have a good representation across the United States, but also in other countries as well.
Yeah, we have some of our biggest chapters are international. I think Australia
Wow.
is the biggest one. And then Canada comes in after that, and then the French and the Spain chapters and Latin America, all very, very active and
Wow.
constantly posting on social media. And I think I just got a request from somebody wanting to start one in Italy.
Yeah.
Nice.
And is in other countries, I mean, that's amazing. Did that just start happening over the last few years, or has it been a gradual thing or just recently, or
No, Erin, Australia is like 10 years old, isn't it? Like,
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah, they just had a big anniversary.
they no
Yeah.
the Australia chapter and I think the Canadian chapter might be 6 years old.
wow,
And then the other ones kind of follow after that. But no, they've been around.
that's
Mhm.
awesome.
That tells you there's a need and a demand, not just here but across the world. That's so cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's got to be word of mouth for the most part, don't you think? Initially,
Since I wasn't around when those chapters came, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the word spread. Originally Pink Boots here in the States started with our founder, Teri, doing a cross country tour trying to find other women that were at breweries. And so, I mean, that was very grassroots. And so for international chapters to have discovered that along the way and said, "Hey, I want to start our own here."
yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible, but yeah, I can't speak to how they heard about Pink Boots here in the States.
Can you talk about? Let's go. That's a good segue and talk about your founder, Terry. I was reading like before you guys were actually like an LLC. Like it really was just she was keeping a notebook kind of thing and like just keeping names of people she had met her along the way. Can you speak to that a little bit? Maybe talk about how it evolved into what it is now.
Erin, I think you were around longer than I have.
Yeah, so for a while there, now I don't know right when it officially started, but for a while there, when I joined, it was literally just this website that you would just like enter your information. You're like, oh, I'm a woman who works in beer, and you had to make a certain percentage of your salary had to be beer related. Now we've opened it up to all fermentation and alcohol, but it had to be a certain percentage of your salary that had to come from beer. There, like you had these certain rules, but you just kind of put your information and signed up, and it was kind of like a director more so than anything else. And there were a handful of scholarships, usually like some Cicerone beer training, but there were a few small scholarships. And then I think it was the year that CDC came to Philly is when they had an executive director, but they were realizing like this was starting to grow. And since they had become a nonprofit and they were meeting once a year and they were starting to do a little bit of fundraising and they were getting some traction on the scholarships and they were starting to grow, that's when they realized they needed to get things a little more organized, where there started to become a membership due, a yearly membership due. There started to become, some additional requirements. When I started a chapter, they gave us an email and said, good luck. Like, here you go, figure it out. And then it's like, okay, well, we need to have because this chapter's doing this thing and that chapter's doing that thing and everybody's doing something different. So, we started putting the structure in place kind of after that. It was, I don't think originally it was supposed to be as chapter based, but as it grew, it was like, and everybody wanted to get together. And obviously, we got together when we could at GABF, we got together when we could at CBC, but, the chapters really became a thing for a chance for everybody, to network and share.
It's amazing. She just received a pretty high honor. Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah. We actually Erin was the one that she was like, hey, Teri just got inducted into the Craft Beer Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What? That is awesome. So yeah, we reached out to her. It's like, Teri, obviously we need to post this everywhere. So I need a quote. I need something. So yeah, and watching the video of her getting it, I mean, I'm really glad that they finally recognized her efforts, because yeah,
Sure.
Pink Boots means a lot to a lot of our member base and to our allies. Like, they see the value in it, which is why they continue to support us and they continue to register for our collaboration project every year. And yeah, the value is there. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. Very happy for Teri. Well deserved.
Well, and the fruits of the labor, I mean, she started this in 2007,
Mhm.
16 members. Do you know how many members now there are? Is it
Yeah.
too high to count at this point?
No. No, we're just shy
We
of
have software for that now.
yes. Yeah, no, that
We're
would be
not,
too
it's
many
not
to
a
track.
handwritten ledger anymore.
No,
Keeps growing by the day.
just shy of 1,900 worldwide.
Nice.
Outstanding. How does, and you touched on it a bit, but how does someone become a member within, and probably through their local chapter, I would assume, to start?
Well, not necessarily,
Okay.
because we don't have chapters everywhere, and so we do
Fair.
have some folks that join just like the national database.
Okay.
But for the most part, they will be, they heard about it, a local brewery or a friend that works at a different business, and they'll go to a meeting. But yeah, you just go to our website and go through our membership benefits and our qualifications. We have 3 different member types. We have the professional one, and then we have business and planning, and then aspiring. So anybody who is not currently in the industry, but maybe is going through some kind of certification or is looking to transition into the industry and wants to learn more about, but isn't fully ready to commit. So they just go on our website and sign up.
That's awesome. And you don't have to be necessarily a brewer or a brewery, right? You just have to kind of be in the business.
And yeah, be in the business. You could be a brewer or you could be an accountant. So,
Nice.
Yep.
or
I
a
mean, we
podcaster.
have,
Hey, there you go.
I mean, we have authors. We have
Mhm.
authors. We have people who deal with insurance, particularly, a little more restaurant, brewery, or wine side of insurance. God, we've had people from all, distillers now, winemakers. You have people. I have a PR company that was a member for a while because she kind of specialized in, beer and liquor. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to just be production.
Distributors.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
good,
Oh
good
yeah,
one.
one of
Yeah.
our new board members works for a beer distributor.
Do you find that you mentioned, Georgia, you mentioned safe space earlier. You were in a situation when you first got started, you kind of felt like you were in a safe space.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that when women are kind of getting into it or hearing about it, they're realizing, oh, there are more women involved, and that creates a safe space, and that creates other people. Hey, I can go to GABF, and I've got my peers with me, or some other meetings, and what I mean, it's not just me by myself, and I can appreciate beer now maybe a little more.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I was just at our Houston's chapter meeting on Monday, and we had two of our members won different scholarships. And a part of our scholarship component is that they need to do a pay it forward. So either writing an article, doing a presentation online, or presenting at their local chapter meeting. And one thing that one of them said that really resonated with me, she was awarded a scholarship to go to the Yakima region. The Yakima chapter hosted a scholarship. They go tour the farms and very hands-on. And at the very end of it, she works for St. Arnold Brewing Company in Houston, and she said, I've only been here for 2 years, and it would have been a few more years before I would have gotten the opportunity to go do like the hop selection. So because of the scholarship, like I got to experience this now. And now I can like comfortably contribute and confidently contribute to conversations because I've had this experience. And so that like at meetings, at Pink Boots meetings, like I see the members approaching a topic that they're not even comfortable with, but they are comfortably asking the questions and are saying, I don't know, like teach me. And I haven't seen that in other environments. There's unfortunately this like ego, like I know everything. I'm going to call myself a master brewer after 2 years. And it's like, let's just all kind of be nice and teach each other and grow and
Yeah.
push this community forward. And so that's
Awesome.
that safe space that Pink Boots is creating.
And the cool thing is it sounds like what you guys or what you ladies are both saying is that Pink Boots has really given a lot of folks out there a great voice to stand up and be able to now be more successful than perhaps they would be. Maybe they were just standoffish and over the years, and I would love to get that more of that perspective from you both on that.
Yeah. I guess too, from what I've seen, for the last few years, I've been kind of working on the conference committee for Pink Boots. so I help plan the conferences,
Help
and
plan or like
help plan.
execute the whole thing. give yourself more credit.
And having been to, guild meetings and other conferences that are, more of a mixed crowd. And let's just say, we're going to say more of a mixed crowd, but if you go to most guild meetings, it is going to be way more men and way less women at the meetings. I went to the conference that I got a scholarship through in Pink Boots, which was an industry conference, and still, it was still like maybe 70-30, percent, which wasn't bad at the time. Like that was pretty good. But it's like a lot of people don't feel comfortable speaking up and asking questions, or like you'll sit there after a talk and there's not much, people, the speakers like, and do you have a question? And nobody's really kind of talking up. There are a few, maybe a few comments here or there. And it's like you come to the Pink Boots conference and it's like after that speaker's done, everybody has questions. They're following them out. Like we're like, okay, it's like time for the next speaker. And they're still like hoping to connect with that speaker later on to continue those conversations. We usually bring them back for additional webinars and learning opportunities because you don't feel uncomfortable asking a question. You don't get looked down upon. You don't get, like little snarky
Side
comments under the
comments,
breath
yeah.
and
Sure.
stuff,
Yeah.
or like, the weird look of like, what, you don't know this? Like, come on, everybody knows
Right.
this. I'm not production. Like, I've brewed some beer. I used to own a brewery. I've brewed beer with my brewers, you know, but there are definitely people I felt very comfortable going into the brewery and brewing beer with them and learning from them, and other people that didn't make you feel so great when you're just like, wait, what are we doing now? Like, what happens next? And like, these are people that work for me too, you know? So it's, it's definitely way more, yeah, like a safer space, a little more open space. Um, Growing up in the industry and coming up, there were people, you know, and, and I will say in Philadelphia, there were people I could go to and ask questions, and the majority of the time they were men. I mean, that's, the majority of the other bar owners and restaurant owners in the city are men. There's way more women now, but it's like I was going to men for questions. And then when I finally would meet up with another female bar owner, we would sit down and talk. It was like all these other conversations and questions that we had and experiences that we shared that we don't necessarily, have in common sometimes, with like, how do you deal with juggling your family and a bar? Like, I'm like, oh, if I have
Yeah.
a kid, I got to put a papoose on and carry him around the, restaurant with me while I'm going to get nice out of the basement. Like, there's things like that, the men don't always deal with or have
Right.
answers or questions for. So it's definitely been a lot, like, the connections that are made there tend to be a little bit deeper, and you can have a little more personal conversations and get answers a lot easier than sometimes you can in a room full, a different room.
You guys mentioned scholarships earlier. Can you talk about some of them and kind of who's benefited from them?
I mean, we both
Georgie
have,
runs
right?
our scholarship.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
What? Actually, I don't know. What scholarship did you get, Erin?
So years ago, there used to be a beer marketing and tourism conference, and I won a scholarship to that, which was lovely because February, right before COVID hit, I got to go down to St. Petersburg when it was freezing cold in Philly. I got to go down there for a week to attend the conference in St. Petersburg. So, and then everything shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, but they don't, I don't think they do that conference anymore. They
Mm.
kind of all paused during COVID, and I think they tried to bring things back, and it just never got up and running again.
I remember that because I know one of my coworkers at the time went to it. But yeah, I did see it after COVID. I got a super cool scholarship, and it was one of those moments where I was like, this is too good. Like, I'm probably not going to get it, but I'll apply anyway. But at that time, there was a partnership with, I'm not going to say it in the language because it sounds awful, like I'm hawking something up, but they brew Deliria. You may or may not have heard of it. The scholarship was to go on International Women's Day and go brew a batch of Deliria with the team. And so wrote my essay, sent in my application, didn't think anything of it. And then I get the call. It's like, hey, you're going to go to Belgium. And I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so my husband and I were like, well, okay, let's make a trip out of it. And so we flew out there together, spent a few days in Belgium. And we stayed in Brussels. And of course you have to go to Cantillon when you're there. And I just remember walking into that brewery, and I almost started crying. And I looked at my husband and I was like, the smell, it's just, you don't it's just and then the tour guide is like, a lot of brewers almost cry when they walk in here. I was like, that's me.
Wow. That's
The
cool.
tour is absolutely incredible. Then my husband came back to the States, and I took a train to Ghent and spent the whole day at the brewery with their head brewer. And when I went, I was the only brewer there. They had a lot of folks local, but they were media. And so they really weren't like, what's yeast, what's grain. And so I'm just kind of hanging out watching, because I was like, I do have the privilege of doing this back home. And so I was kind of just helping, guiding. And the brewer, after the whole day, they were like, hey, do you want to just stay and hang out with us? And then they started opening vintage bottles. And I was like, I would have never, ever had the opportunity in my life to do this had it not been through Pink Boots and this scholarship. And so that that's what like propelled me to be like, okay, I want to do more for this organization. I want to join leadership. And, I ran for the board of directors, finally made it on. And I was like, I want to be focused on scholarships and grow this program, because that experience was absolutely unique and incredible. And I want other folks to do it. We were able to get a few more members that scholarship. We no longer do that one, but now we have a very, very cool partnership with Trip from Trip's Beer Trips to go to Germany, tour hop farms, or do sensory training. And the members that have gone through it are just like once in a lifetime experience, and just are like, thank you so much for this. And so that's, yeah, as you can tell, I'm like getting so
Oh, Georgie, I was gonna say.
What I love to bring up is that woman who got the scholarship in Philly that encouraged, like, that made me want to keep the chapter going. She left Philadelphia and she's one of the brewers at Cantillon now. So she spoke fluent French and like packed her bags, went over there, introduced herself and said, I want to start working here. And they figured it out. And she now lives in Belgium, like full time brewing at Cantillon. It's been over there for years. And I'm like, it's that like she started out getting that scholarship with Pink Boots and propelling her career and like really having the confidence to go and do what she wanted to do, which was live overseas. So
you're telling me I could have applied for Cantillon and I didn't do it?
When you were like, do you know somebody in Belgium? Granted, I didn't know you until the later on. You would introduce you to
Right. We did not know each other back
time.
then.
Well, maybe not that area now, but maybe another part of the world.
I
Germany would be.
did have a short stint in Hungary where I did some brewing. It was actually the first brewing I actually did was there, and that was incredible. But yeah, I might know some folks in Europe off the pond.
Well, it's really cool because Georgie, when you were telling that story, and you probably have told it many, many times, but I could just see each time you tell it, maybe it's 10 years later or 5, you probably just get chills and goosebumps just thinking about it, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Like I was exploring this beautiful city, ancient city, with folks that I would have never met were not for this opportunity with Pink Boots. And so, yeah, that's where I'm like telling folks like, it means something. We're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was incredible. I can't find another word. I wish I had a bigger vocabulary, but it was just that.
It's life-changing, at least in the sense of your career, and even life-changing in general. I mean, that is amazing. And there's some motivation, right? And some inspiration. I got to do this thing. Now, you know what? Let me set my sights on something else. Or I want to stick with this thing for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And it is this little like bragging point. It's like, oh, yeah, I've been to Belgium. I've been to Illyria. Like, what have you done? Just kidding.
You both have very accomplished resumes in the business. Are there things you still want to accomplish, though, that you have not done?
In the business? I mean, I think deep down, maybe. Every brewer wants to have their own brewery.
Yeah.
Point. And so it was, and it still is, a dream of ours to have our own little brew pub. We'll see when and if that happens, but I think that would be the ultimate accomplishment for me, would be to have my own place.
The good thing is someone who's had one, so could give you some ins and outs.
You know what? Yeah, she might have some pointers for me.
I'll say sometimes it's not what it's cracked up to be. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just want a vacation.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of brings another question of the folks that go through this program and the scholarships. How many that you meet that I'll give the same question. How many that come up to you and say, I want to do more. I want to brew more. I want to be in fermentation. I want to do all these things. You must hear that quite often.
I mean, I wish I did. Not that it's not happening, but those aren't conversations that are like I'm hearing. I'm pretty sure these recipients are, telling their employers it's like, hey, I need more stimulation, more challenge here, to expand and grow. What we hear is like, thank you for this opportunity. It's given me the tools to ask for more. And so I'm just hoping that they're at least being heard
And I got to feel like ultimately it's creating more opportunities too. You get people that have come back. Now we've got some experience. We've got some additional experience maybe somebody else doesn't have. I've been to Germany. I've been to Hungary. I've been to Belgium. Guess what? That's on my resume now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if y'all want to go,
Yeah.
I'm sure Trip will take you along.
Why not? Be fun.
You all do a fundraiser. We probably do multiple. I know you do, but there's your biggest one is Collaboration Collective. And can you talk about that? And it's been rebranded too. And is there a reason behind that?
So I guess we take turns. So originally it was Collaboration Brew Day, but as we have expanded our membership, like I said, we used to just be women in beer. Now we're women and non-binary, and then it was beer, and then we've opened it up to cider and kombucha and just anything fermented or alcohol, so spirits. But we were hearing from some of our members, and I know we used to have quite a few members in the Philadelphia area that worked for the spirits, and they're like, well, how do we participate in collaboration? They would come to the brew day that one of the breweries was hosting, but they just felt like their businesses couldn't really collaborate because it was called Collaboration Brew Day and they don't brew. So we've looked at since we expanded it and trying to be more inclusive, we've rebranded it to Collaboration Collective. You can host a brew day, you can host a cider making day. There was a chapter in Pittsburgh. They made hot sauce one year, and we've recently had some members who made bitters using the Pink Boots hop blend. So they have cocktail bitters, and like for me, when I sold my brewery, I sold my brewery first and kept kept some of the restaurants. It was like, I would go to the brew days, and then usually at my restaurants, I would buy the different collaboration beers and put them on and do an event and then donate some money back. But it was always like I was kind of on the outskirts of collaboration brew day but like this is kind of opening it all up that now I can have a collaboration collective event pouring the different brew days or the spirits or the cider, and just really leaving it open for our members to have, be creative with whether it's a beer or a cider or whatever they're producing, but at the same time, yeah, be creative with, we have a group of members from the Bountiful Bag that make bags and all out of used malt grain bags. So we can all pull this in together and be a little more inclusive of what everybody is doing that are members of Pink Boots. So
There is a map. There's a link that's on your website for the Collaboration Collective, and it tells about what it is. But there's also a map on there, and it says this year's participating businesses. And we talked about how you're international. It's literally New Zealand, Hong Kong, Japan, like most of Europe, Canada. It's impressive just looking at this map.
And I haven't updated it. So there's still some missing, but yes.
She's going to be busy tomorrow.
I was really excited. And I saw this the other day because I remember this. We have one solo member in Norway. And when I represented the Pink Boots, when I joined the board, I went to CBC. We had a booth at CBC, and many of the members are brewers and all. Like for me, I'm a restaurant owner, so like I enjoy CBC, but Georgie, it makes more sense for her to go to the panel discussions than it does for me. So I worked the booth the entire time, and I got to meet this woman from Norway, and she brought me one of her Pink Boots beers. It was called Boot Print, and literally made a boot print with different hops and different designs, and I was excited, and it was delicious, and I got to take it home and enjoy it, and it was delicious. But I was also very excited because I was watching everything that was getting shared on our Instagram, and they reshared what they brewed this year and their label and all for this year, and I was like, "Oh, I remember her." So it's some people make a new beer every year. Some people kind of, make an updated version of a beer every year. So it's always exciting to see what everybody does. I love it. When I was the chapter leader, I think one year we had 15 different brew days happen in the area, and if I didn't make it to a brew day, then I made it to the release parties, and it was
Oh yeah,
always
that was so much fun.
As ambitious as you
it
might
was
be.
a lot. Like, and Philly, like, even though we were Philly, like, we had a chapter member that was near, they were in Pennsylvania, but they were near the New York state line. And then, there wasn't a New Jersey chapter at the time. So I, like, South Jersey usually joined the Philly chapter. So, like, I went all the way down to Cape May Brewing for the release of one of their beers. So, like, I've been down for their releases quite a few times. Yeah, it's always everybody does something so different but makes sense for their brewery. It's just really exciting to see what everybody has going on too.
What from that fundraiser, what does that kind of support, and what where does that money kind of go?
Those scholarships to Germany.
Scholarships.
Yeah, that's scholarship.
Yep.
They're quite pricey. And we would love to send more of our
Yeah.
members because it is very popular. We just launched this last year. We actually met Trip at CBC, and he's had this company for a long time, and he curates trips for individuals like in the industry, whether they're home brewers or just really big enthusiasts to go to Germany. And the very first trip that he took Pink Boots members to Germany, he said afterwards, he's like, Georgie, everybody that like I've been taking folks to for years are like, who are these people? What's Pink Boots? They were amazing. They knew their shit. They wanted to
Yeah.
learn more. And so Trip is like, I want to keep bringing this group of folks over because it's giving him more credibility and clout when he's bringing these members who, are in the industry and like I said, they know their shit and they want to learn more. And so it's been a very, very great partnership. And so that's what those funds go to. And right now we're sending, last year, I think we sent 10 members. This year, we're only able to send, no, actually another 10. We wanted to send an additional 6. And maybe we'll still be able to if we get some more funds. But yeah, we just want these opportunities for as many members as possible.
It's amazing. And I went to Germany a couple of years ago just on our own, and it's not a cheap trip.
No,
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot. And yeah, so that's what we want to do for folks.
It's impressive. It's very impressive. You talked about chapters, and you talked about, Erin, you talked about local chapters kind of being self-sufficient. You've got one coming up. I don't think we touched on it yet. It's called a new pour. You want to chat about that a little
Yeah.
bit? And
Yeah. So I've not been like this has been I'm learning like as I become the president. Fortunately, that means some things have to go. So I am not on the chapter leadership in Philadelphia anymore because there's only so much time in a day. But I'm trying to help them out where I can. But for CBC, a few years ago before COVID, we used to do a chapter fundraiser where we did a beer festival called Bold Women in Beer. And then, Pink Boots has grown to be more than just beer and more than just it's women and non-binary. We kind of opened up, and then COVID stopped that for a while. We couldn't do in-person things. And now the chapter is looking to kind of like they were like, okay, this is what we used to do, but how do we bring it back and make it more relevant for what's happening now? So the chapter's putting together a new pour. They're doing it the Sunday before CDC starts. It's a fundraiser because they just sent 2 people to Germany last year and they want to send more. So they're hoping to raise enough money that they can send at least 2 more people to Germany. Maybe more would be lovely. But it's open. What we're doing for this one is it is going to be a little more Pennsylvania focused. So it's open to Philadelphia chapter members first. But we opened it up to our allies and other producers. So there's going to be wine there. There's going to be distilling there. There's one of our members is a kombucha. It works for kombucha. So we're going to have a kombucha. They make amazing kombucha. It's some of the best kombucha ever. I get so excited about it. And it also tastes good sometimes, like their green one. tastes so good with a little bit of gin. We like to make it a little alcoholic.
Why not?
But we have, they make it alcoholic sometimes too. So, but we're gonna have that, and then we've opened it up to we, in Pennsylvania we have an Erie chapter, we have a Pittsburgh chapter, and we just started a Williamsport chapter like a week ago. So they've been opening up spaces to pour for the other Pennsylvania chapters as well. They are trying to keep it Pennsylvania based for this one, just to kind of showcase the Pink Boots members and the members from Pennsylvania. So like when people are coming in the CDC, if they get a ticket, they can see some of the breweries that you might not, have a chance to travel to, because, Erie's 8 hours away. So it's, yeah, I don't even get out there that often, but you'll be able to taste some of the beers from the breweries that, while you're visiting Philadelphia for CBC. So, and then they're going to have some women fronted bands. There's going to be some educational sessions as well. I know they're working. I'm actually really excited because we went there for our chapter meeting in February. There's this beautiful like sour farmhouse distillery. They have a little tap room in Philadelphia, but they grow a lot of their own ingredients at their farms. And they're going to do like a little tasting and talk about sour beers. So there'll be some educational stuff in with the whole festival as well. So it should be really fun.
I don't know how you ladies keep everything straight. You're both wearing a lot of hats in the house for a while. Erin's right now, like this hour podcast is killing me right now. I got stuff.
Oh, I don't want to go back downstairs.
Then I'm curious, when you get to talk to your founder Teri, and she talks about where she started to where Pink Boots is today. Was it ever envisioned to be this big? And do you think it's going to get a lot bigger going forward?
I mean, you'll have to ask her. Want to have her on the podcast. I don't want to speak for her and what her vision was back then. I think from some of the interviews I've seen, she's grateful for what it's become, but I don't think she envisioned it turning into what it is now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you all see it going in the future? And bigger and more bold things going on with Pink Boots?
Taking over the world.
Love it.
Yeah,
We've been planning our world domination,
our takeover. No, I mean just like any business that has to pivot with the times. I mean, so does Pink Boots, right? The landscape is changing, and so ultimately, my hope and goal is that we're still providing or filling a need that is in the industry. That need is going to change. It has changed over the years. And so as long as we're able to meet our membership base, whatever that looks like in a few years, that is what I hope for the future.
Are you seeing certain positions within breweries or even the beer industry that have grown for women?
I mean, production has definitely grown.
I mean, I think I just saw something recently online that said that it's now at 7%, 8% production is women.
Oh, wow.
Which still doesn't seem like the top.
Say 70 or 7?
7.
Oh my God. I was like, that can't be right.
No, 7.
I wish, going back to how it originated when women were making everything. But yeah, I think that would probably be the area of growth is production.
And 7's not enough. We could all agree on that. But there's got to be roles where it's a lot less. Where else would you see further growth? Where would you rather see further growth?
Leadership. I think both of those would be ideal. We're pretty smart.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So yeah, I would hope to see more of our members have those opportunities for leadership position and growth
and ownership as well. I'd like to see, and I think from what I've been reading, the more recent, like front of the house is probably the little bit of area where women tend to have maybe a slight edge, or with more jobs front of the house. That production But then when it comes to front of the house management, that number changes drastically, and it's way more men than it is women. Um, I'd like to see
Well,
that
and I
grow. I'd like to see
sometimes,
ownership grow.
yeah. And I sometimes wonder, and Georgie, you were talking about this, who knows where things are going to be heading, but things seem to be heading where, at least from the brewery standpoint that we see in the places we go, where everything is becoming like more family friendly and different craft beer options. It's not just craft beer, it could be ciders and seltzers and other things like that. So hopefully your all's voice and the initiatives that you're doing will evolve with that too, and maybe that's the type of thing that you're seeing as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if you're only focusing on your beverage, then you're not really adapting. Like, people want an experience. And
We
so,
talk about that a lot. I mean, we do. We've seen some brewery. There's a brewery that opened here in Nashville in the past year, and they're great, and they serve great barbecue, and they have great food, and it's family friendly. And we see some other breweries that have opened up over the past couple of years here. That I mean, you go there, and there's families, and they've got all kinds of activities. So as you say, I mean, it's not the way it was 10, 15 years ago, where you just can't. Most of the places just can't rely on, hey, this is our craft beer.
yeah. No, because you could have
I mean, like,
here, but if you don't have a concept, then yeah.
I mean, as I'm planning for CBC, we're hosting a lot of events here in Overcast on top of with Pink Boots as well. We're gonna go, like, I don't know how I'm getting through this week. But what I'm working on, like, we're hosting an event with a hop company. Obviously the brewers are going to make beers with some of these hops that they want to showcase. But what they also just did was send me a huge kit of euphorics for me to make hop cocktails. So I am like literally was opening them today and smelling them so that this week I can start playing around with doing cocktails with some of their products and stuff. So like even the companies are looking about like how does this all, this industry change and where can we use things and stuff like that. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I found a bottle of guava and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but we're somehow guava related because I was like, yes.
I'm sure you'll find a good use for it. Well, we don't want to keep you forever, Steve. You got anything else you want to end on?
I want to end on thanking you both for taking time to talk to us today. And hopefully we can get you on again, because I think what you're doing out there, I think the initiative, I think Pink Boot Society is fantastic. And, we look forward to seeing what the future holds for you all.
Thank you. Yeah, no, happy to hop on again. I mean, I'll get more beer next time because I definitely.
We all will.
I was like, damn, I went through those. I mean,
yeah.
Super light. Like I said,
bring the
lagers all
cooler.
day.
You learn. You bring the cooler, and if you think you don't have enough, add one or two more in there.
You know what? I am going to do a little cooler. But yeah, no. I thank you both for asking us to do this. We love. You could tell we love talking about Pink Boots.
Pink
Amazing.
Boots is in great hands with you all and the people we don't even know. But meeting you, I know it's in great hands. The beer industry is in great hands because of you. Thank you for being a part of this. It means a lot to us, and we're
Awesome.
big supporters.
Big supporters. Well, let's raise our beers to what we have left.
Dang it, man, that's bad luck. I'm out.
And Erin's water.
I'll thumbs up. I'll give you. Oh, look at that! I did it.
There you go.
Wow, I didn't know you could do that.
You got to stay hydrated, Erin. It's always a good thing. Well, we all do. All right. Erin and Georgie from Pink Boot Society, thank you today for joining us on the Brewery Underground podcast.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Pleasure was ours. Thank you. Cheers.